bills which seek to update the various laws regulating the sector.
It is common knowledge that the leadership of the Senate ascribed enormous importance to any of the executive bills. At various plenary sessions, it had deliberated exhaustively the general principles of the bill in question before referring it to the Honorable Committee for further legislative work. The essence of this public hearing, therefore, is of course to encourage the cross-fertilization of ideas based on experience of technocrats from the aviation industry, retired experts, stakeholders, and the general public, with a view to encouraging the quality and content of the bills. We will do this constructively by putting to maximum use our individual and collective skills and knowledge towards these bills, which are fundamental to the development of the aviation industry in Nigeria. The repeal and reenactments of these 6 executive bills are aimed at enhancing the operational framework and the removal of the seeming ambiguities that inhibit the international best practices within the air transport sector. The aviation industry is a dynamic world in itself. Consequently, continuous changes and upgrades must be made to meet safety needs and promote economic growth. We must therefore continue to strive to go beyond expectations if we are to achieve the best aviation solutions that are possible. Globally, air transport is the strong box of socio-economic activities. To the worthy competitors, we must collectively address the challenges that the industry is currently faced with. Issues such as safety, poor regulatory functions, viability, operational costs, affordability, amongst others, must be addressed holistically. There must be responsiveness to the needs of the people and accuracy to procedures so as to ensure that the industry is the most effective, secure, safe means of transportation in Nigeria. You will recall the 27th of October at the budget defense by the ministry and its parastatals, the Honorable Minister for Aviation, Senator Hadi Suruka, told this committee that adequate preparation has been made by the federal government to implement the aviation master plan. We were informed by the minister that this includes having a new national carrier. This concept is long overdue and a step in the right direction. The committee expressed dissatisfaction at the current state of some of our airports. To this, the Honorable Minister informed the committee that the establishment of maintenance, repair, and overhaul MRO facility, allied cargo infrastructure, aviation leasing company, search and rescue unit, and aerospace university, among others, are part of the projects being executed. It should be noted that the aviation industry is the fastest growing sector of the Nigerian economy, despite the setback caused by COVID pandemic. I therefore urge that all hands be on deck to resuscitate and reposition the sector through these bills. Economic growth, job creation, better and timely services, faster and safer means of transportation of passengers and goods and services are but a few of the benefits we all stand to gain if these obsolete acts are carefully repealed and overhauled. Let us at this point work together, exchange knowledge and ideas, generate authentic and robust inputs that will guide our legislative actions. I sincerely hope that at the end of this exercise, ladies and gentlemen, the new bills, when passed, will be widely acceptable, bring about operational improvement, increase efficiency, flexibility, harmonization of procedures within the industry. In doing so, we will have set the standard for acts that will stand the test of time. Let me take this unique opportunity to call on the federal government to explore the possibility of providing bailout funds for airline operators in Nigeria. The outbreak of COVID-19 virus is a global and ongoing pandemic, and countries all over the world are providing bailout funds for airline operators. Certainly, the aviation industry was the most affected by this virus attack and therefore need all the support possible to resuscitate the industry. In the absence of this, so many airlines will struggle to stay in business, or worse still, be forced to withdraw their services. Bailout funds will mitigate the devastating effects and also encourage operators from cutting corners, as the consequences of such an act can better be imagined. Honorable Minister, distinguished senators here present, let me once again thank you for coming here. Let me urge the experts who are here to join hands with us by opening up. We as legislators are not experts, but we rely on what you give to us, and all of us will put our heads together and look at what you are presenting to us and make sure that these are things that will help to change the aviation industry for the better, improve standard of aviation, and of course, maintain the safety records and the very enviable result recorded in the last few years in this industry.
The bills seeking to repeal and reenact the Civil Aviation Act of 2006 and the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology 2010 received inputs from industry players.
This hearing is on 6 executive bills related to crucial matters of regulation, training, management, and safety of the aviation industry. The issues are significant in ensuring safe air travels and are part of efforts at enhancing the health, safety, and profitability of the overarching transportation sector. We cannot overemphasize the important place of aviation in national development. We have established it as the fastest and the safest means of transportation. Aviation additionally makes the world closer and reduces the negative impact of distance. It is uniting and integrating, aside from helping us to cope with the place needed in national and global activities. The ability to sustain the coping element, however, depends on the efficiency of health and safety arrangements. Our capacity for top-notch management and the productivity of regulatory frameworks. These issues are also a product of extant laws, which change as new realities emerge. While implementation is not less important, we are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring foolproof legislation, which will be helpful to a seamless execution. The bills we shall discuss are a product of either observed limitation in existing laws or the need to cover areas arising from the experiences of implementation. They also coming at a time we are managing the pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic is badly hitting the aviation industry, particularly because of the need to discourage movements and interruptions, incidentally, key features of air travels. This is a challenge Nigeria and the world are confronting, but also a reason we should be creative in projections on the directions of legal frameworks. We often make plans, but are always at the mercy and of an unpredictable nature. While we cannot make a wholesome prediction on the times ahead of us, we can, however, be exhaustive in designing solutions for emergencies, which can as well be operational, mechanical, weather or climate related, or from an unforeseen occurrence like the pandemic. The task is to do the best we can in envisaging the unforeseen, creating scenarios and fathoming responses to ensure sustainable living. We can do this through behavior change, ethics, rules, regulations, and laws. We are here today to discuss the legal aspects in line with our lawmaking mandate. We should, however, not be unmindful of dimensions that can influence the legal framework to arrive at a resolution that will eventually be useful for conclusions on the bills. The bills for an act to repeal the Civil Aviation Act 2006, to repeal the Nigerian Airspace Management Agency Act, to repeal the Nigerian Meteorological Agency Establishment Act 2003, to repeal the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria Act, and for an act to provide the establishment of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau are consistent with the quest for improved aviation governance. Our mission is therefore well cut out, and I am assured we are up to the task, not just in the interest of quality aviation industry, but for the overall benefit of our country. I therefore urge you to be patriotic in your submission, realizing that our collective well-being is a responsibility for all. The Aviation Committee is well prepared to listen to you, and you can be confident that the Senate shall come to a fair assessment in reviewing the submissions. I thank you all for coming, and I wish you all a successful deliberation. It is now my pleasure to declare the 3-day public hearing open.
The journey to proposal for amendments of the laws establishing agencies under Nigeria Civil Aviation commenced as a result of findings in the International Civil Aviation Organization ICAO Universal Oversight Audit Program in the year 2006, as well as finding in the United States FAA Category Certification Audit in the year 2010 that establishment acts of some of the aviation service providers contain certain regulatory functions. I must state here that since 1963, I think when Jaja Wachuku was the minister, when the act was reviewed, nobody did anything on those civil aviation acts to change them by an act of parliament. And at some point in the past, they were even charging pounds and shillings for offense. And when we came to the National Assembly in 2003, some of us participated and led the review of the act in 2006. At that time, inputs were received from the sector. Unfortunately, at the time when we were all running for our dear lives towards election of 2007. So we did justice to the bills, but not that much justice was done to the bills. And since then, aviation has changed more and more, and needing to ensure that this review of acts is in place. Fundamentally, it is to recreate Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, to be an enabler of aviation business, not a police. To be able to carry out regulatory functions in such a way that it enables businesses, it enables safety, it enables security, it oversights everybody in a way that is an enabler but not a policeman, in that sense of the word. Whereas NCAA should be the only and autonomous regulator of the civil aviation in Nigeria, thus Nigeria was requested and agreed to take corrective action to address the audit findings. Consequently, a committee involving the relevant stakeholders was constituted by me to review the establishment acts of the 6 agencies, not only to close the audit findings by removing regulatory powers from service providers but also to bring the respective acts up to date with developments in international civil aviation, which is ever-changing. To separate the powers among the agencies, to facilitate and upgrade INCAT, to give NIMET the leverage to commercialize some of its products, to remove impediments in smooth running of the functions of all the agencies and ensure seamless coexistence between the agencies. And of course, encourage the agencies to initiate and develop policies for its own growth and development, including revenue generation for those who are revenue generators. An example of this is that in our wisdom, which we threw when we came to stakeholders, and we had a series of meetings, about 6 of them in the period 2015-2019, where we thoroughly discussed all these issues, including review of the Act and our roadmap. And we found out that by its word accident, the world have moved away from that. It connotes something that is unwanted, and the word is inappropriate. But more importantly is the Safety Bureau, as it will be called now, will be not only covering civil aviation, but it will cover marine and rail transportation. We think this will bring it in line with global best practice. And certainly, of course, aviation is domiciled with knowledge and experience in safety investigation matters, especially as safety investigation is not intended to apportion blame, but as post-mortem to be able to prevent it from happening again. We have earlier on appeared before this committee after transmission of the bills by His Excellency Mr. President to National Assembly and submitted a written report detailing the reasons behind this important request to repeal and reenact this act. The timetable of the committee sitting today indicated that we are starting with NIMET and INCAT. So I will use this opportunity to speak a little about them, the 2 agencies. NIMET, of course, was established under the NIMET Act of 2003. In the course of carrying out the functions of the agency, it was observed that there is a need to reposition NIMET for effective performance of its duties. There is a need to enact an act that will give the agency the sole authority for licensing and oversight of the standard of meteorology in Nigeria. The Nigerian College of Aviation Technology was established by the INCAT Act of 1964. Since the establishment of the Act, a lot of changes and development have taken place in this industry that requires review and amendment of the Act to bring the provision of the Act up to date with operational requirements of the college. You can imagine in the College Act, we still have as membership the Managing Director of Nigerian Airways. Looking at the years when these 2 agencies were established, one will have no doubt that there is a need to review their laws. We have seen and adopted the bills of the agencies as presented in the National Assembly Journal as formal, which contains our desired amendments to the existing civil aviation laws. At the same time, I wish to draw the attention of this committee on the need to effect editorial corrections that occurred in the publication of the bills in the National Assembly journals, and to present a few minor amendments to the bill which relate to the core functions and operations of the agencies that are necessary in order to fully articulate the desired amendment of the laws. The agencies, which is NIMET, NAMA, INCAT, NCA, and FAN, including NSIB, will appear before the committee and present the said additional corrections and amendments of the committee's consideration. Mr. Chairman, sir, it is a very, very long journey since we came. We tried the best that we can to ensure that we've provided for the industry a working tool. And we did the necessary groundwork to ginger up support and criticisms on this act. We sent it out to the public, and it's been out there for the last 7 months. We're giving it to every single individual that we can reach and every single association that is abound in civil aviation. We are being challenged. We have been implementing a roadmap approved by His Excellency Mr. President, and we are seeing the result of that roadmap. Aviation grew to second fastest growing sector of the economy in 2018. In 2019, it became the fastest growing sector in the Nigerian economy. And these are figures from Federal Ministry of Budget, Finance, Budget and National Planning, as well as the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. So it's our hope and desire to continue to implement this roadmap to its logical conclusion, at which time aviation will continue to take lead and grow significantly to be able to add greatly to the GDP of the Nigerian economy. It is not that we didn't have challenges, the latest of which is the COVID-19. Aviation became the most impacted of all the industries that suffered through COVID-19. Mr. Chairman, we noted your request that the federal government should make some allowance for airlines. It did so. The federal government has provided 4 billion naira for airlines and 1 billion naira for other businesses within the civil aviation. We are putting criteria for the disbursement of those funds, and once it is done, it will be transparently done, and they will be so disbursed. COVID-19 has impacted civil aviation, but I want to use this opportunity to assure Nigerians and others that are interested in civil aviation that it is not new to civil aviation. Civil aviation has seen the Great Recession, has seen the World War I, World War II. Civil aviation has seen SARS. Civil aviation has seen 9/11. Civil aviation has seen Pearl Harbor. Civil aviation has seen SARS. Civil aviation has now seen COVID. But always civil aviation will come out top and rebound back because of its importance to the economy of the world. Civil aviation connects nations to nations, businesses to businesses, culture to culture, history to history, and tradition to tradition, as well as schools and students, hospitals and sick people. It's an all-important sector of the economy that cannot be ignored. For this reason, we wish to thank Nigerians for their cooperation during the COVID-19 and the way traveling has now become a burden. After 9/11, travel by air became so difficult that you are x-rayed, that you remove your shoes, that you do this and that is all because of 9/11. But we're still traveling and we found a way out of it. This one also, we hope it will be very temporary, and while it lasts, we plead with you to bear with us, and we thank you for the patronage of civil aviation. With these few remarks, Mr. Chairman, sir, I wish you a happy deliberations and will be on standby. Once you require us, we will come back to defend our position, and we implore others to also kindly do justice, because this is the only opportunity we've got for now to be able to give ourselves a working tool that will stand the test of time.
What I said of the need to give a bailout to the airline operators. For me, I'm not an expert, but because of the nature of this job, we do a lot of traveling. And I know, or I have an idea of the workforce of the aviation industry in Nigeria, talking about the airline operators, their workforce, and looking at the cost of parts for planes, for aircraft now. I do not think, sir, with due respect, that 4 billion naira is what we are talking about. If you look at what is available to airline operators globally, in nations of the world today, if we really want to keep the airline operators in business, and if we don't want them to park the planes and send people home, I think the federal government should take up the problem of this industry with all the seriousness it deserves. In a global economy that is undergoing recession, more so for a developing nation like ours, more so Nigeria, if we really want our economy activities to be above average, I think there's a need to look at the airline operators with a view of giving them substantive support. 4 billion naira, Honorable Minister, for how many airlines operators in Nigeria? I wouldn't want to see a situation where these airlines will have to park their planes and they'll send people home. But like I said in my address, more so, if they have to be cutting corners, that is even worse for our nation. And we cannot afford to allow airlines to cut corners. Yes, they are in business, but their business is the soul of our economic development today. Whether you like it or not, the role of aviation industry globally today cannot be overemphasized. I recall that in the US, what they gave some few months ago was staggering for airline operators in America. I'm not comparing Nigeria with America, but I'm only saying, Mr. Minister, you have a role to play to take this to the Executive Council, and I don't know if the CBN people are here, but I think they have a lot they can do to help the airline operators. And I plead with you, Honourable Minister, that this should be taken with all seriousness and with sincerity of purpose for the cause of our nation. Now, sir, in order not to keep people here tonight, what I want to propose is we'll kickstart with Nigerian civil aviation. All the stakeholders that are here with maybe issues contrary to the concept and ideas of the bill we are amending, or we have reservations, we want you to come up first after the DG of civil aviation, so that we can know your position. Then if you have other observations, that can come in. But if you are opposed to any aspect of this bill, because we have dispatched the proposed bill out to amendments, to stakeholders. So if you have reservations or you have issues with the bill, we want you to quickly signify. After the Nigerian Civil Aviation DG, we'll talk to my brother Barrister Tuni, the consumer protection. They'll be the first to respond. So please, if you're a stakeholder here, you have issues for the bill or against the bill, we want you to signify that you come first after.
Mr. Chairman, regarding airports, we see these airports as national security assets. And we feel that the statement is correct, that 1 mile long road leads to nowhere, and 1 mile long runway leads to everywhere. It is very apt and correct. The more airports we have, the better. And this question of non-viable airports, I don't like that. And I don't even like the word non-viable. I had made argument before the National Assembly that it is the amount of activity that you are able to create around an airport that determines its viability or not. And a case study has been established in this country, in Nigeria. In fact, even Akure Airport, sir, with due respect, a couple of years ago, nobody goes there. Today, they're having 2 flights a day and increased to 4. Yeah. So these airports, on purpose, we are developing master plans for each and every single airport around the country, where we'll create activities around these airports and they'll be viable. Second, why I trained in Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, around that Class B airport, the number of airports that are in those areas are more than the number of airports in West Africa. So the fact that airplane is landing and taking off, helicopter, only adds to the transportation activity around that sub-region and only opens up your market. And in this spirit of single African air transport market, which was started by a Masukuru decision and declaration, we are going to see a boost in civil aviation activity once it is implemented. So we need to be ready with our infrastructure to be able to take care of that. Specifically also on the question of those number of airports, what I said is that aviation has been growing and we're able to add about 10 airports onto the map of airports since we came into our power. I gave example of the airport in Lafia in Nasarawa. I gave example the one in Yobe, and so on and so forth. And I said many more are coming, including Abeokuta, including Wachakal, including the one Mr. Chairman is hammering about, which I think is very, very important, the Jakarta one. So I don't mind having airports every single city and every single state. And we would do the best that we can to establish them and sustain them in line with our roadmap. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Just to give you a small background on the Civil Aviation Act and why we're reviewing it. A lot of my comments have already been reflected in the Honorable Minister's speech. The Civil Aviation Act 2006 came into force on 14th November 2006, almost 14 years ago. The Act recalled the following enactments, namely, the carriage by air, colonies, territories, and other trust territories, Colonial Order, 1953. The Civil Aviation Act, Act 11, 1990, Civil Aviation Amendment Act 1999, and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority Establishment Act No. 49, 1999, and consolidated the laws for the regulation of civil aviation in Nigeria. The coming into force of the Civil Aviation Act 2006 coincided with the Universal Safety Oversight Audit by International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, and the same year. The ICAO audit assesses the capability of a member state's civil aviation authority to carry out an effective safety oversight of aviation sector through the implementation of standards and recommended practices known as SAPs and the 8 critical elements of a state safety oversight system. Part of the findings of the ICAO audit of Nigeria for that year was the establishment acts of the service provider agencies, such as the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria Act 1995 and the Nigerian Airspace Management Act 1999 gave them regulatory powers. Whereas ICAO requires that CA of every ICAO member state, which Nigeria has been a member non-stop since 1962, and Nigeria has been a member of the ICAO Council, which is the governing body, non-stop since 1962, and successfully re-elected into the Council 18 straight times since 1962, which takes every year. Nigeria as a member of the state is supposed to have a CAA that is the sole and autonomous regulatory agency of the industry, which is the requirement of the ICAO. And Nigeria as a member, we are required to comply with that. ICAO document A335 Chapter 3 prescribes 2 main prerequisites for an effective regulatory oversight system, namely the provision of a basic aviation law of the state and the establishment and autonomous CA with necessary powers to ensure compliance. This is exactly what we're doing, the primary legislation, the critical element one. Without that, there is nothing. So we are reviewing our primary legislation to ensure those gaps that were in those audits are removed, and NCA, Civil Aviation Authority, as a sole and autonomous regulatory body of the industry. In addition, United States Federal Aviation Administration Category 1 Certification Audit of Nigeria came to the same conclusion on finding these gaps, like the ICAO audit. As the Honorable Nigeria, both audits recommended Nigeria should take corrective actions to address this finding, and Nigeria accepted. As the Honorable Minister mentioned, the Ministry of Aviation in 2013 set up a committee to review the acts of all aviation agencies and propose amendments, not only to close the audit findings, but also to update the respective laws, including the Civil Aviation Act 2006, and bring them into conformity with the new and amended ICAO SAPs and with the developments in the global aviation industry. ICAO also issued SAPs for the regulation of the aviation industry. Nigeria, as a member state, is obliged to comply with the standards, while recommended practices are desirable. Since the enactment of the Civil Aviation Act 2006, ICAO has issued and amended a number of SAPs, such as NS 19 Safety Management, and there's a need to review Nigeria's primary legislation, the Civil Aviation Act, to incorporate this new development. Besides the SAPs, there are other international air law instruments, including conventions and protocols ratified by Nigeria. For example, the Montreal Protocol of 2014, whose provisions needed to be incorporated into the Civil Aviation Act of Nigeria. Other developments in the civil aviation, such as increasing collaboration with ICAO member states through the establishment of regional, interregional, and other strategic partnerships, e.g. the Banjul Accord Group, Aviation Safety Oversight Organization, and the increasing use of remotely pilot aircraft system, otherwise known as drones or RPAS, in Nigeria. The introduction of advanced passenger information and passenger name record (PNR) data exchange requirements between departure and destination countries, among others, need to be provided for in the new Civil Aviation Act. This advanced passenger information and passenger name record shortly is going to be a mandatory requirement, and if we don't implement it, we're going to have issues with Nigerians traveling and also getting visas of certain countries. Gaps and omission observed in the Civil Aviation of 2006. For example, the omission of Article 30 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, 1994, the Chicago Convention, which is the basis where the International Civil Organization was from the functions listed in Section 68(1) of the Act, which Nigeria may exchange with the aeronautical authority of another ICAO member state, pursuant to Article 83 of the Convention, needed to be filled. Some provisions of the Civil Aviation Act 2006 lacking in clarity and which do not satisfactorily answer some protocol questions of the ICAO audit needed to be rephrased. The above, among others, provide the basis, rationale, and justification for overdue review of the Civil Aviation Act 2006. The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority fully endorses and welcomes this review. The review and update the Civil Aviation Act provides an excellent opportunity to reset and reposition the aviation industry in Nigeria to start the process of recovery from the devastation wreaked upon it by the COVID-19 pandemic and overcome various challenges within the industries. All this while providing the statutory functions of a safe, secure, efficient, environmentally friendly, and affordable services, including passenger, cargo, and several others. This will enable the industry to make significant contributions to the growth and diversification of the national economy through the promotion of trade, commerce, tourism, hospitality business connectivity, amongst several others. This will also help concretize the aviation roadmap of the current government, the federal government of Nigeria, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister of Aviation. The creation of tens and thousands of jobs and a significant increase in the aviation sector's contribution to the national gross domestic product will be the end result. However, distinguished Chairman and members of the Senate Committee, to exploit and convert these huge and untapped potentials of the Nigerian aviation industry into reality, we must get the regulatory function right. Whatever we do, the roadmap, whatever we do, if we don't have a proper regulatory function, it's going to be like a castle built of sand. It's going to be washed away. It's just a matter of time. The regulatory function is the heart and the soul of the industry. And we don't have a choice, but we must get it right from the word go. It is the heart and soul of the industry that creates synergy between the various components while ensuring compliance with standard and recommended practices, international law instruments, and established statutory partnerships, both regional and international.
We support the legislative reform, and the one thing that is very clear is ultimately, and one of the most important things I say about business, and I think it is more so in aviation than any other place, that it is very typical and sometimes, quite frankly, the normal thing, that industries look at what they do as their business. And because of how technical, how diverse, how complex, and how broad aviation is, it's very easy to consider aviation itself as a product. And same thing in electricity. But I've always said that passengers in the case of aviation, or consumers or customers in other businesses, are the core of the business. They are not ancillary. The only purpose of all of these businesses is to transport, for instance in aviation. And all those who serve the airlines, whether those who bring the magazines, the newspaper, the catering, jet fuel, all of it feed into one thing: serving consumers. And the most important part of the oversight work that aviation does, right from the ministry to the regulator, is safety. And if you really put it in a different way, safety of what? Safety of people. Or, for cargo, safety of goods. Those goods belong to people. So ultimately, we're still in the business of serving people, whichever way we cut it. And so, the focus on ensuring that these services are safe and comply with the fast-moving global standards is commendable. And it's very tedious. It's very difficult, but it's commendable. And I remember in the early days when Dr. Demoren championed a more robust consumer protection infrastructure within the Civil Aviation Authority. They were very difficult initial days. In the lifetime of many of us here, we used to write tickets, and it was difficult to even tell when the plane was full. In fact, you found out if you could get a seat at the foot of the aircraft, because the tickets were sold and the airlines were not necessarily acting inappropriately. They were selling the tickets. We did not have an infrastructure that would allow us to monitor those things. And so we moved on to on-time departures. I remember at one time when I was advising the NCA, on a daily basis, he received a log from ATC of when flights departed and when they landed. And so when I hear a lot about the complaints about aviation services today, especially the behavior of airlines, I feel the frustration. But I imagine what it would have been if not for the incredible pioneering and hard work that went into bringing us to where we are. And it's very easy, and I've discovered that, especially as a consumer regulator, that when things go right, it is expected. But whenever something goes wrong, you are responsible. And so it is very important for us to remind ourselves that we're here because some things have gone right. But we're also here because many things still need to go right, and even the things that have gone right can improve. And so it is on that note that we welcome the legislative reform, completely supported. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act of 2018, which was signed into law in January 2019 by President Muhammadu Buhari, clearly clarifies the role of a consumer protection regulator and the role of a competition regulator in industry. And I would say that one of the most important things for us that has come out of this legislative agenda is, for the first time, we're gaining the best possible alignment between the consumer protector and the primary aviation regulatory authority. We spent the past weekend working through the legislation and our areas of mutual jurisdiction, and we've come to a very acceptable, I would say a global standard of how the framework, the legislative framework should look. And for me, this is an example, not just for the relationship with other regulators within Nigeria, but I think it will be a gold standard even for the continent. And so on that note, we welcome the new legislation. I encourage all who have come to participate here to focus on the issues, and let's get this through as quickly as possible. The one thing that I would say is that our experience over the past few days with the NCAA demonstrates one thing. You've got a regulator that wants to pass legislation as quickly as possible, but is willing to pay attention to all the multiple flanks that are required. And if there's anything else that demonstrates that to me, is that the amount of experience seated in the first two rows facing the Senate committee demonstrates everything that is required for us to get this law. And to imagine that even on the Senate committee side, I have my learned friend and counsel who is also a pilot. And so there's enough experience and there's enough desire and will for us to move this quickly. And we look forward to collaborating with the NCAA to make the space better, to address the questions of delay, to address the questions of a failure of sensitivity and responsiveness. We understand the technical issues, we are not involved and we do not know about it, and we have no intention to interfere. But it is important that airlines, at a minimum, the soft infrastructure of sensitivity and responsiveness. Nobody wants to fly when it is unsafe to fly. But people, as a matter of law and moral responsibility, deserve an explanation each time they will not fly or when the flight will be delayed. And those are the things that we believe that together we can work to make sure that we can address those sensitivity issues, and that will bring the complaints and the dissatisfaction down by more than half. And if we address that, we'll be a long way going home.
What was it that we had in 2006 that was not adequate, that is inserted here, that is going to promote the adequacy of what the civil aviation is looking at? And then comments can come, frank comments, straightforward from the stakeholders, so that from it we can now look at the provisions and see that they are properly anchored on what the stakeholders believe should be the ideal situation. I'm happy Dr. Dimore is here. We had to defend the 2006 legislation at the U.S. Congress prior to the issuance of Category 1. And I incidentally happened to be one of the people who was in that delegation. As far as they were concerned, they had only one aspect that they were not happy about at that time. And because they said we can do what is called statement of compliance, that when we get back home, we will comply with that provision. And that they want sufficient adequacy of independence of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. That was the request at the morning, if I remember vividly well. I'm happy I have seen that in the provision of Section 4 here, but I have seen additional powers that were never and I have not seen available in any jurisdiction. So we expect stakeholders to help us and tell us what they think the position of the Parliament should be, so that in both sides we will have enriched the contents of the Civil Aviation Authority to meet the requirement of ICAO and to meet our local operating condition. That's the idea. I think that is how we should proceed. So stakeholders who have submitted memoranda or who wish to address the panel based on the contents of the amendment being sought are free to contribute.
The bills, when passed, are also expected to streamline the roles of agencies, improve aviation safety, and promote investment in the sector. But there are reservations on some provisions of the bills.
Our intention is to highlight parts of the proposed bill that affects the airline operators of Nigeria, being a major stakeholder in the aviation industry. Mr. Irukera, who just spoke about the consumers. After the consumers, the next critical stakeholder in the industry, of course, are the carriers, the operators, who carry the consumers from one place to the other. And there are a few observations they have made in the proposed bill, which we want to highlight to this in this honorable occasion for your consideration and hopefully inclusion in the final draft that will be presented to the House. The first provision is Section 5, proposal of Section 5 of the bill that makes provision for the membership, composition, and tenure of the governing board of the NCA. AON's proposal is that at least a member of the AON should be included in the board of the NCA. It is not an unusual provision. They are the people who are operating the airlines, and they can give a perspective in deliberations of policy that is being discussed on the board of the NCA. One member cannot influence the decisions and policy that will come out from the board. But if you have a member of the AON on the board, it can give a perspective, particularly in the instance that we are talking about, where the NCA is going to be a sole and strong regulatory body. If there is a member of the AON on the board, it is not going to change the policy, but it's going to give an insight from an operator's view. In South Africa, they have members of the operators on the board. So it is not, we are moving forward, we want to move the sector forward. So no proposition should be seen as a harebrained. We should something that we should consider and see how it will work to grow the sector forward. So that is one proposal from the AON, and I think it is worth considering. The second proposal from the AON is on the power to impose fees and services. Now, I am a lawyer, and I know the impact of words used in any legislation. When words are unclear, they can give room for several interpretations. There's a clause in the provision of Section 21 that says the NCA has the power to charge for the administration of licenses and certificates. Now, it has to be explained. The NCA has power to impose charges on licensing and certification. Now, what does it mean to say administration of licenses and certificates? It gives a broad room for imposition of other charges, which cannot be clear on the face of the law. So it is something we should look at, the way we use the words in the law, so that there's some clarity. And it is important that the operators of the airline has clarity in terms of the charges that they will be subject to and what they will be paying. The other clause, if you permit me, is a controversial clause, I agree, but please listen to our proposal. It is clause 23, the clause that imposes 5% contract, sales, and service charge. That 5% has been in the bill in the law since 2006. Our proposal is that a consideration be given to lowering that percentage. Now, there's a sharing formula in the bill. It goes to all the regulatory agencies in the aviation sector. NAMA is there, FAN is there, NCAT is there, NIMET is there, NCA is there. But we are proposing, one, the bill has already made NCA and some of these other agencies to have their fees as a cost recovery, right? So the aim is to ensure that these agencies are run efficiently. There's efficiency in the system. There's accountability of the funds that are going into the system, and there's transparency. If these three factors are put in place, we can then justify a retention of this 5%. As of today, members of the AON are groaning. They are groaning, and it is not clear if all the agencies that have been part of this 5%, that they require the funds that are imposed by the operator. So our proposal, please, is that 5% should be reviewed downwards. We propose 1.5%, but it's subject to discussion and deliberation. But our proposal is that 5% should be reviewed downwards. The operator should be given some lifeline. Without them, we will not have any sector. And it is important that this proposal is looked into to ensure that on the one hand, the operators can operate, and on the other hand, the regulators are operating efficiently. The word is efficiently. They have to be efficient, and it is justified whatever percentage that is accruing to these agencies. This is a very, very important issue for the operators. And we are craving your indulgence and your patience to look into this proposal. We have also proposed amendments in our memorandum. But a more important issue on that section is a section that criminalizes non-remittance of this charge. It is imposed, it is stated there that for non-remittance, there is a 2-year imprisonment or a 5 million naira fine. My distinguished senators, that's completely not, it's just not, it cannot be imposed in that manner. An airline should not be subject to a jail term for non-remittance of a charge. I don't know if, this is an open floor. Anybody can educate us if there's any other country that imposes such a jail term for the non-remittance of an airline charge. We hope that section will be expunged from the Act. We have proposed amendments to that provision, but that one criminalizing the airlines, because it's in the law that they have to collect, and you're criminalizing them. If you don't want to criminalize them, then the MCA probably should collect the charge for themselves rather than criminalize for imposing a duty on. There is a provision in that bill that seeks to impose strict liability for damages caused on the surface. It's a new provision. It wasn't in the 2006 bill. And lawyers in the House will know that provision was called from the Rome Convention, which Nigeria denounced in 2002. And that Rome Convention has also been revised because of the events of 9/11. If we need to make provisions for damages or compensation for victims of air crash on the surface, we need to look clearly at the provisions of that bill. It is not properly drafted, it is confusing, and it uses a monetary denomination, so special drawing right, that it has been removed from other conventions. So we need to look at that provision. Our proposal is that it should be expunged.
It's abnormal for them to make a presentation unless they stand here to say they will withdraw their purchase and they will affect the board.
Every single aviator or interested party is right to come here and make their presentation. Not as AON, but as individuals or interested parties in the aviation sector.
I want to appeal to all of you. I know what is happening in this industry fairly well. And I know the determination of the Honorable Minister to ensure that we are out of where we are, at least for the purpose of setting costs for moving the industry forward. But we cannot do this in a rancorous manner. I was thinking that this is the best opportunity that has been provided for all the stakeholders to vent whatever they feel should not be the position, so that we can begin to get it right. We know clearly that we are not on course. We know clearly that the vision of the minister cannot be achieved until we have a properly functional effective institution of the aviation industry working together to ensure that the industry moves forward as quickly as possible. So, Honorable Minister, we have to try as much as we can to encourage stakeholders to tell us what their position is. You see, when this gentleman was making this provision about saying a member of AOL should be a member of the board, I remember, Dr. Demone, that will bring conflict of interest. And what South Africa did at that time is to say that there has been complaints about how the civil regulation is being interpreted by the regulators. And in order not to give that exclusivity to begin to do that, a small committee is being set to review where there is an unreasonable exercise of authority in interpreting the regulation. And I think that is another way that we have to go. We can't continue to go the way we are going. So we must accept this and then move forward, please.
This concern is founded, very genuine. This NCAA operates on cost recovery basis. To train one inspector on a 777 or on G550 or on 737 is a lot of money, and that's where we get it from. And these airlines, I just want to put on record, currently they are owing us $6,993,500 and then 19,374,686. 19 billion. And these are monies that they ought to give us. Now, if we reduce downwards that 5% that she's proposing, then our money goes down and they're not even able to pay. And this money is not theirs. It's the money that we charge from tickets. And they ought to be remitting this money so that we can train more and more inspectors and keep the industry safe. This is my second point, sir. But all of this, we encourage, we are here because we want everybody to venture out so that we can get a very robust Civil Aviation Act. And that's why we initiated it. We're not here to muzzle anybody. I'm just making observation that whether it is right when you are called to come here. But now that you've explained, we're well guided.
This is a forum where every sector, every stakeholder in the sector should be able to express exactly what they think it should be. Because if we don't get it right here, then definitely there will be a problem in the aviation sector. And we all know that Nigerian aviation sector have faced so many challenges, and they are still facing these challenges. And we are all Nigerians, we are the operators, we are also the regulators. So I don't see why we should have issues, especially when it comes to legislation. We need something that will guide the smooth operation of this sector. And the best place to do it is here.
This is the network service of the NTA. We now join our outside broadcast crew for a live telecast. Please stay tuned.
We thank you for the refining fire you are
Welcome to NTA, Africa's largest TV network service. We are broadcasting live from Abuja, Eleme, venue of the unveiling of Eleme Afam Oyibo Road project, a road rehabilitation by the present administration in Rivers State. On behalf of the outside broadcast crew, I am Kingsley Amajiri.
May I invite Honorable Isaac Kamalo, Honorable Commissioner for Finance, to take the opening prayer.
We bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the gift of today. We thank you for the safe arrival of our governor and his entourage, particularly Senator Ali Ndume. We submit the commissioning of the Eleme Afam Oyibo Road to your watch and ask that at the end thereof you will lead us safely to our respective destinations. We pray through the name of your Son Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
GSSRS, Power of Sports Africa, Pride of Rivers State, Governor of Rivers State, Distinguished Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume, Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Right Honorable Ikuyo Wajibani, DSSRS, Speaker of Rivers State House of Assembly, Your Excellency, Sir Celestino Mejia, GSSRS, former Governor of Rivers State, Ambassador Desmond Akao, Chairman, People's Democratic Party, Rivers State, Your Excellency, Engineer Tala Ikuru, DSSRS, former Deputy Governor of Rivers State, Distinguished Senator George Thompson Sekibo, the Right Honorable Austin Opara, OFR DSSRS, former Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Senator Betty Apiafi, Senator Olaka Wogu, Senator Sam Ayawo, Your Majesty King Dr. Danderson Douglas Jagya, JP, JK V, Amayanobo for Popo, Chairman River State Council of Traditional Rulers, Your Majesties and Your Highnesses, members of the National Assembly here present, the Deputy Speaker, Principal Officers and members of the River State House of Assembly, Secretary to the State Government and members of the State Executive Council, elder statesmen, special advisors, permanent secretaries, local government chairmen here present, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the commissioning of Eleme Afam Oyibo Road, constructed by His Excellency Yesomeze Wanwike, CON GSSRS, Governor of Rivers State. Your Excellency, may I at this point invite to give the welcome address the Chairman, Eleme Local Government Area, Honorable Dr. Philip Okparaji, Esquire.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Rivers State, Chief E.N. Wike, CON, GSS, US Africa. Your Excellency, Distinguished Senator Ali Ndume. Let me stand on existing protocol, sir. Want to welcome you to Eleme local government today. Your Excellency, we are very grateful for this road from Alesa, Agboncha to Oyibo Road. For what you have done for the people of Eleme. Your Excellency, let me inform you, sir. The federal road have paid the people of Eleme. All the tanker trucks that move to Southeast, this is the surest way they pass now, Your Excellency. Because the federal road have totally collapsed, is this road. So we want to thank you. The people of Eleme, we are most grateful for this road project, and the people of Eleme stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you for coming to commission this road, Your Excellency.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we now invite the Day Cultural Group to give us their traditional dance steps. Day Cultural Group. Day Cultural Group.
That is a display of arts and culture by the people of Eleme. The people are not just traditionally farmers, though urbanization and increased industrial activities coupled with the pollution of the environment has eroded increased activities in agriculture. The Eleme people are bounded on one side by the Oyibo people, on the other side they share boundaries with Okrika and Ikwere people. Eleme is host to a number of Nigeria's critical national assets. The two Port Harcourt refineries, Indorama Petrochemicals, One Seaport are among other key investments located in this local government area.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
That was a dance display by women of Eleme.
River State, Honorable Elo Katasi Amadi Esquire.
Your Excellency, Your Excellency, the Governor of River State, distinguished Senator Ali Ndume, Your Excellency, former Governor of River State, the Right Honorable Speaker of the River State House of Assembly, Your Excellency, please permit me to adopt already established protocols. Anytime a road is built, families, communities, districts, businesses are brought closer one to another. Socio-economic activities receive an unsolicited boost. Conversely, anytime the road is bad, a gap is created. Close friends, families, businesses suddenly seem far apart or an inconvenience to approach. Business patronage dwindles, and with it, the fortunes of those affected by the situation. It doesn't end there. Traffic gravitates or detours to the next motorable road, thereby increasing the pressure on that road as well as creating traffic jams. So what we then have is two roads that pose problems to the areas they traverse. One area is unattractive due to the deplorable road condition, while the other is unattractive due to the bad traffic situation. One bad road, two affected locations. This was the case before the reconstruction of the Eleme-Afam Road. This is an 11.5 kilometer long road project, 8.5 meters wide with 7 kilometers of drainage. It connects Eleme in Eleme local government area to Afam in Oibo local government area. A very good and useful road in the movement of farm produce and pursuit of local trade. Prior to this time, the road was a nightmare, replete with all the negatives that derive from such a situation. Today, the 6th day of January 2021, it is something that brings joy, and with it, the obvious, tangible, and psychological benefits that come with any good transportation access to any location or locality. In this case, to the good people of Eleme and Ibo local government areas. May I, on behalf of the Minister of Works, appeal to the communities, their paramount rulers, leaders, and community development committees to wholeheartedly own these projects, take responsibility, and see to it that they are protected and preserved. Drains are kept free of silt and debris so that they serve the purpose for which they were constructed and guarantee the life expectancy of these projects. Your Excellencies, distinguished Senator, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's ceremony for the commissioning of the Eleme-Afam Road. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I now...
Eleme-Oyibo axis of River State is one of Nigeria's industrial and commercial nerve center with high volume of traffic. The Eleme-Afam-Oyibo road passes through the Abuja daily market, connecting commuters from the refineries, the east-west road to the Afam-Oyibo axis of the city, the commercial nerve center for those residing in that part of the area. One cannot but imagine the benefits of this road to the inhabitants and commuters alike.
this project, as already described, is an 11.5-kilometer road, rehabilitated, which includes reconstruction, overlay, and drainage networks. Lubric Construction has successfully completed this project with full cooperation of all the communities as usual, and we are grateful for that. Finally, we would like to thank His Excellency for the opportunity given to us to serve this great state, River State. Long live River State, God bless River State, and God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, will now take a solidarity speech by His Royal Highness Emere Bebe Okpabi One Nchia.
Your Excellency, our own son, Yesum Ezebouan Wike, I salute you. Distinguished Senator Ali Ndume, I salute you. Your Excellency, permit me to observe the existing protocol. Your Excellency, it will interest you to know that this road you are commissioning here today was a mere road bush path between us and our brothers, the Indokis of Oyibo. This bush path has been there for a very long time, even before the contraction called Nigeria. During the administration of Murtala Muhammad, the military merely expanded it a little bit, the bush path. Every other administration of this state that have come, the state cleared of it. But because of the love you have, you are a practical person and a practical son of Eleme, you decided to embark on this road. Your Excellency, in the early 60s, the premier refinery was built here. And you know that it will take transportation between here to Ndoki. Even with that, nobody tried to build this road. You came and you expanded this road, and today the importance of it cannot be overemphasized. All the trailers that comes from Onne Port and the premier refinery, because of the condition of the federal road, this is the diversion that they take. Your Excellency, there's so many importance of this road. But let me digress a little bit to show what you have done for us, why the people of Eleme are very happy for you, and why we will stand with you any day, any time. Your Excellency, I am the king of Ogale, and where the hospital, the General Hospital Eleme is built, nobody, since the construction of that hospital, nobody attempted to do anything to it. It was all broken down, except our leader, His Excellency Otunaya Odili, in this last term, is trying to do something there. After that, you came. Now you have changed completely the landscape of that hospital. Your Excellency Owanenu, we thank you. Your Excellency, is it the schools? The school at Onne, you have completely rebuilt that school. Thank you, sir. Is it the primary school that you're presently doing in Ogale and several other communities in this region of Nchia? Your Excellency, on behalf of my people, on behalf of the King of Eleme, on behalf of the Traditional Ruler Council of Eleme, on behalf of the political leaders of Eleme, on behalf of the youth, women, and indeed all the good people of Eleme, we say thank you for this road. May God bless you. Obaraka Seru, thank you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this point,
that the Port Harcourt, Aba Road and the East-West Road are still under construction with compounding gridlock. The Eleme Afam Oyibo Road, which is an internal road, provides also the alternative needed for motorists, especially those going to Aba and other parts of the eastern part of the country to navigate to their various destinations.
Our special guest of honor, our dear friend, Senator Ali Ndume, the right honorable Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Excellency, the former Governor of Rivers State, distinguished senators here, the former Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, former ministers, our dear leaders, the party chairman of the Hope of Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party, the chairman, Rivers State Traditional Rulers Council, the chairman of Eleme, another chairman of local government that are here, the on-air Eleme, and the council of chiefs that are here, the youths, our women, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, the special guest, let me, on behalf of the people and government of the state, sincerely thank you for honoring our invitation at the shortest notice. You agreed to be here today. For the past 3 days, we have been in Rivers Southeast, particularly the Ogoni zone. On Monday, we are at local government where we commissioned 10.3 kilometer Kira Noah Seme Road. Yesterday, Tuesday, we were in Bodi where we commissioned Duala 16 kilometer of Sabiwa Bodi Road. Today, we're in Eleme commissioning Abuja Afam in Oyibo local government. Abuja in Eleme, while Afam in Oyibo local government. So this road traverses 2 local governments. So nobody will say that we have not come to Rivers East to do anything. Nobody will say so. This January ending, by the grace of God, the ancient town of Opopo will be commissioned, where we will now, the chairman of the Rivers State Traditional Rulers Council will happily drive home. Since he was born, he had never been home by road. This is the first time Opopo people will going home by road. And by March, we'll also be going down to Andoni. We will have to commission the Andoni roads. So in all, we have felt, our presence has been felt in the Southeast Senatorial District. In Eleme, we have been able to rebuild the school in Onem. As I speak to you now, by the end of this month, we are coming back to Alisa Secondary School and Ascension High School. Those 2 schools will have to be rebuilt completely. We are already completing the school in Eto. Those of you, if you go to Eto, you will see the school there. So I'm proud to say, and I can beat my chest, I go home and sleep, that when I came to Eleme to campaign, I did promise you that I will not neglect Eleme local government. And I have come here to say that I promised the day I came for campaign, I promised that this road will be done. And today, by the grace of God, we are commissioning this road. Eleme people, I want to sincerely thank you for the support you've given to me and the People's Democratic Party. Do not relent. Continue, because the hope of this country lies on PDP. The hope of this country lies on... Yes, my special guest of honor is my friend, but he belongs to the other people. All we are doing is for them to prepare to pack their things and go, because time is up. The party that will take over Nigeria is almost there. So PDP, we are doing everything we can, and let the special guest of honor see that PDP is working in this state. PDP is working in this, and the other states that PDP are in control, we are working, and we want to show the working. So I thank all of you that you didn't give the contractor any problem, and the contractor finished. But there's one thing I have to do for you, because you gave me a good son who's a reliable person. He was the Commissioner of Finance, very trustworthy, very reliable person, and I always believe that if we have this type of people, that you will see that people will begin to have hope in government. So there's one road, I know that's where it comes from, there's one road here, some of the internal roads. Because of the Commissioner of Finance, I will do those roads for you. I will do it. Because he has handled that ministry very well, that today I have money to do projects is because of a reliable Commissioner of Finance. So I thank you for giving him to us, that today we can talk about prudent management of our resources, because we have somebody you can rely and depend on. Let me therefore invite my special guest not to be angry because we are taking over from them. Not to be angry, when they came, we didn't fight, they took over. Now that Nigerians have decided to change them, let them also hand over to us as quickly as possible without any fight. So I invite our special guest, Senator Ali Ndume, to come and talk to the people of Eleme and commission Eleme Afam Road. Thank you and God bless you.
Your Excellency, I waited for you to sit down first, because if I start talking and you're not sitting down, maybe you fall down. And as our Oga here, I can't afford that. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Rivers State, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen here, especially my colleagues from the National Assembly who did me honor by joining us for this very important occasion. Your Royal Highnesses here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me appeal to stand on existing protocol and also say here, Eleme Maui Owe. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm not only honored, but truly I'm humbled to be here in Eleme to commission this very, very important project. As His Excellency said, he's my very good friend, a trusted leader, a very honest person. I'm not used to saying what is not true. One thing that we have, yesterday I was telling them in common, as most of you know,
is that as a leader, you must stand out to speak the truth, even if you are alone. And Wike is known for that. And I'm proud of you for that attitude. The only problem is that you are in PDP. But I can understand that, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We all know that PDP was in power for 16 years. Finally, when it was removed, it went into coma. And it was only Wike that was providing the life support. Now, PDP again, after we took over and Corona came, PDP and all of us are on oxygen. But the only person in PDP that is the ventilator is Wike. So we cannot allow the people to die by taking the ventilator. That is why we kept you there to do the work you are doing. Wonderful. But that aside, ladies and gentlemen, this is a country of ours. You don't know what you get or you have until you lose it. What you are doing here, we will never try it in Borno. You can't invite people like this and everybody comfortably listening to somebody speaking without looking around. So you have to thank God, we have to thank God. And honestly, let me also say here that Nigeria is lucky to have not only Rivers State, but Rivers people. I was telling my colleagues, the South, particularly the Rivers people, are the great people of Nigeria. What you are doing to this country, what you are giving to this country, if Rivers is not there, Nigeria will not be there. I thank God that I was part of Rivers and I'm still part of it. Let me tell the gathering that after my primary school, we started the Federal Government College Port Harcourt here. So I'm a Port Harcourt boy when Port Harcourt was the Garden City. You know, the rest is history. But the hope is here. And that hope is Wike. Now, Rivers is not only becoming a garden city again, but it's becoming a golden city. May God continue to give you the strength. And from today, please stop talking about PDP, because you have passed that. You are a leader in this country. If you are not a leader and a friend and a nationalist, I will not be here. Fayemi will not be here. Many APC governors who are here. You have many friends in Nigeria. You are one of the true Nigerians that I ever know. And if we had people like you that speak the truth to power, Nigeria would have been better off for all of us. Rivers people, let me commend you for your conduct, for your culture, for your attitude, especially our traditional rulers in Rivers. They have never, ever denied and compromised the tradition, and that is who you are. Anybody that tries to be somebody else is fake. But if you see our traditional rulers anywhere from Rivers, even if you gather all of them, you will be able to say this is from Rivers. Very proud people, and I told my bow for you. Finally, I'm being careful because you know he kidnapped me since yesterday, and I asked my people in APC to come and save me as a ransom. Up to now, I have not seen somebody, so I have to be careful in order to get here safely. I want to round up my speech by calling on the Community Beneficiary Committee to take care of the road. Don't allow allow people to come and start digging the tar road, trying to get pipe across it without permission from the government. Don't allow people to start burning things on the tar road in order to damage it. Don't allow water to stay longer if it happens to be stagnant somewhere for a long time, trying to remove it. The government has done its own. The responsibility of road maintenance is yours. I'm very proud of you, Your Excellency. I have been to some places and seen people gathering like this to commission 1 kilometer. I have seen people gathering, governors, your colleague governors in PDP, let me be very specific. 1 kilometer, they will go and gather everybody and commission it. Yesterday, you commissioned a dual carriage road of 16 kilometers by a colleague of yours from another state. Today, we are doing this that is more than 11 kilometers. And this is not the end of it. And what impressed me most is what you did in Port Harcourt. The 2 flyover roads given not only to these roadside contractors, but Julius Berger are the ones doing it. And Rivers people, you can be assured of the quality. Even though your money go there, but it's better to have something good that will last forever. Let me finally round out my long speech as a politician by saying, Owaneno, Owaneno, Owaneno. Thank you very much.
A special guest of honor, and the key takeaway from his speech is for the people of Eleme to protect the investment on the road infrastructure within their communities.
Yeah, but anybody else that's coming? Hey. In the name of Almighty God, and to His glory, and to the people of Eleme, and by extension to humanity, because this road is for everybody. On behalf of my dear friend, Your Excellency Barrister Wike, I commission this Eleme Oyibu Road to the glory of Almighty God. Reconstruction of Eleme Afam Oyibo Road executed by the administration of His Excellency Nyesom Ezenwo Wike, the Executive Governor of Rivers State. Commissioned by my humble self, Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume, former Senate Majority Leader, on this 6th day of 2020. To God, to the glory. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the outside broadcast crew, we sincerely thank you for staying tuned all through the program. We will now hand over to the network studios for the continuation of other scheduled programs for the day. Thank you.
His name is Mr. Project. 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 His name is Mr my sister, papa, mama, and pikin. Corona no big pass us, we go fight time, we go win. As long as we remember to always do the right thing. Wash your hands, love each other, we go win. Oh. Corona na the virus we dey worry human being. E no get leg go, but e dey waka from person to person. But we fit beat am, we fit stop am if we maintain good hygiene and practice social distancing. We go win. Oh.
Do you know that social media is not good or bad, and that it is you who is using it that is either good or bad? Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, verify the information, and reflect before sharing it. Now, are you a good social media user? Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source for a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Ofala Festival is an annual royal event that cuts across the Igbo race of the southeast Nigeria. It is a summation of two Igbo words, Ofe, which is a traditional symbol of authority, and Ala, that means the land. Ofala Festival commemorates the traditional rulers' enthronement. As such, it is a lavish ceremony. The event normally features homage to the king by the subjects, cultural performances by different villages that make up the community.
In essence, for Adam 1 year in his life and on throne. That is the meaning of Ofala.
We have something we have to be proud of. We have something great to market to the world. And we like the world to come and enjoy themselves and witness our culture.
And then,
a royal dance by the Igwe and his cabinet, accompanied by other invited traditional rulers. It's also an avenue to recognize and reward deserving sons of the community with traditional titles. Ofala Festival is usually celebrated towards the end of the year, and it's an important event in the Igbo calendar.